You cited during your speech truth as the most important tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack in 1967 on the USS Liberty, which left dozens of American servicemen dead and hundreds wounded?
All right, so I had to start out with that clip because, man, I don't know if I'm looking at an Abercrombie and Fitch model or a political analyst, maybe a combination of both. But all right, listen, everybody, this is going to be a fun episode because Nicky Rudd is somebody that I discovered from that clip from Ben Shapiro, and we want to talk all about that because, man, that thing put this kid on the map, and it put him on my map, and I've got him hooked up with a few podcasts here and there. And everybody that I've set Nicky up to talk to is just absolutely blown away by him. And I know you guys will be as well. So listen, man, welcome to the Deep Shallow Dive.
Thank you, Ray. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, let's talk that Ben Shapiro clip. You know, give us the whole thing with that, and really, what was the reaction after you asked the question? What did people come up to you afterwards and say? Because I know you got a lot of interest in that.
Absolutely. So I'll start where my political journey began.
Yeah.
I've always cared about the country. I've always been a conservative. Grew up in a conservative household, but I wasn't super politically involved, other than yapping on my private Instagram story every now and then, until Charlie Kirk got shot. And it was the day of his assassination that we had a vigil at my school. I go to Baylor University, and we had a vigil, and people showed up. There was prayers. We sang some worship songs, and one of our guys gave a little bit of a dedication to him, and I just felt called to say something. And so I stood up, went in the middle of the crowd, and said my piece. And I didn't have anything planned out. I hadn't thought too hard about it. It was just off the cuff from the heart. And I got a really good reception. People really liked it. They put it in the school newspaper. And I decided then I was going to join the TPUSA chapter at my school. And from there, started getting more involved. And I heard about AmFest. And there were some people from my chapter going to AmFest. So I decided, you know what? I'll buy a ticket. I'll fly to Phoenix. I'll go show up and just shake some hands. I was just thinking I was going to make some connections. But we're there, day one. Erica Kirk goes up first. She says a few things, but the first real speaker is Ben Shapiro. And Shapiro goes up there, and to start off his speech, he says, the core tenet of American conservatism is the truth. And that resonated with me. I agree with that statement. And then he proceeded to lie about and bash every single figure in the right wing that's really worth something right now, whether it's Nick or Tucker or Candace, Megyn Kelly, countless other people, Alex Jones. And I'm sitting there, and all the young people, I don't know if people know the setup of TPUSA AmFest, but the students, high school and college aged, are sitting in the front. Then in the middle, you've got like young people, young professionals, maybe some TPUSA workers. And then in the back, you got families, AKA boomers, lots of boomers in the back. So in the front, all the young people are mad. I'm hearing people boo. I'm hearing people get mad. They're like, this guy sucks. And I'm looking left and right, and no one's enjoying what he's saying. No one is supporting this among the youth. And I turned to my friends. I'm like, man, somebody's got to press this guy. Like, he can't get away with this. And I was like, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And they're just like, hey, man, that's you. That's your job, Nicky. I said, what, dude? No one knows who I am. I've never done this before. But I felt called, and I felt like it was my obligation, honestly, to just say something to him. Whether it was, I didn't know if I was going to defend mainstream big conservatives that he was attacking, or attack him with a different line of questioning. But I thought about what was the beginning of his speech. The core tenet of American conservatism is the truth. So I said, okay, well, what's something that Ben Shapiro lies about that is true? Well, that's when it hit me, the USS Liberty. Ben Shapiro says it was an accident. Ben Shapiro dismisses it. He calls it irrelevant. And all three of those things are lies. It was not an accident. It was an intentional attack. And it's certainly not irrelevant. It took the lives of American soldiers, and it's just another example of Israel subverting America's interests. So it's very relevant to us today, as we can see with this war in Iran and many other things that are going on in America. So I go up there, I say that to him. You say truth is the core tenet of American conservatism. Why, therefore, did you call irrelevant the Israeli attack on the USS Liberty? And he proceeds to lie about it again, say it was an accident, say it was very short, they didn't know it was an American ship, and then he attacks me personally. Now, did he immediately sit there and say I was a hateful person or a bigot? No. He knew it'd be a bad look if some student goes up and he immediately was that vitriolic. But instead, he insinuated, and that's what's sinister about it. It's insidious. He insinuated by saying, well, I don't think that this is the real reason you're asking this question. I don't think that you actually care about the USS Liberty. I think that you have a deeper motive. What is that? Why are you asking that question? And he's trying to insinuate that I'm a hateful person or an anti-Semite. Everyone knows that. There's no question about that. And I stood my ground. He thought that was going to faze me. It didn't. And so he kept coming back at me, acting like I didn't answer the question. He kept saying, by the end of it, he said, well, you won't answer the question, so I'm moving on. I did answer the question. I said, the reason I asked that question is because we need to stand up for America's interests. And if there's a foreign country that our government has allegiance towards that's subverting American interests, I'm going to oppose that. That's an extremely valid answer. That's the exact reason I asked the question.
Right.
But he, all he could do was lie.
Yeah, no, totally. Let me ask you this on the Charlie Kirk. Like, was Charlie Kirk somebody you followed before his assassination? Like, was that somebody you kind of looked up to as, maybe a truth teller in that regard?
Absolutely. I think every young Gen Z conservative or somebody with just a conservative mind watched Charlie Kirk and grew up watching Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And especially towards the end, maybe the last 2 years of his life, it's when I really started to become a fan of Charlie Kirk. I always was a fan, but once he started to clearly be critically thinking on the Israel topic, he was always very smart. He was always a critical thinker.
Very smart.
He towed the line of total Israel support, no questioning the state of Israel or our government's relationship with them. But after October 7th, he started asking questions that you're not supposed to ask. And I thought he was very brave for that. And so I certainly became even more of a fan of his up until that point. And I was very deeply shaken when I saw the video of what happened to him. It was horrific.
It absolutely was horrific, and I think a lot of people were shaken. So as a young person, this is interesting because I noticed his transformation. He was on the Patrick Bet David podcast, I think October 12th, 2023. And I remember that video or that podcast, and man, he just dropped truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb. And he talked about the Gaza border, 6 hours. It took 6 hours. I've been to that border. It's the size of the state of New Jersey. Every 5 feet, there's an Israeli IDF soldier. And I remember watching that going, wow, that was unbelievably honest. And I'm very surprised that he really even said all that, because he was the first conservative voice that I had heard even bringing up the question of what really happened on October 7th. And this is literally 5 days after. So I gave him so much credit for that. So you're saying you really did notice, as somebody that was following him, you really did notice him shifting, huh?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That was very brave of him when he was on the Patrick Bet David podcast and said, look, this he didn't use the words inside job. I don't believe he used those words, but
No.
He said everything but that. It's very obvious they let the attack happen. It was a pretext to allow them to go in and just blow up Gaza and flatten it. It's a pretext, and this happens all the time. Governments allow foreign operatives or even their own agents in an inside job to commit an atrocity or create an attack that gives pretext for war and for violence. This happens all the time. And he was brave for saying that, and he got a lot of flack. A lot of the Israel firsters were very angry at him for saying that, but it's objectively true. It's the most secure border in the world. So, like he said, you can't go 5 feet on that border without running into an IDF soldier. And if people remember, they were flying over Hamas. They were flying over the border in like makeshift hang gliders, basically. Like, that's ridiculous. You have bombs sends missiles over into Israel and they're being shot down by Patriot systems. You're telling me that some guys on a hang glider with an AK-47 wouldn't get shot down? It's a ridiculous statement.
It's absolutely absurd, completely absurd. Okay, so let me ask you this. Turning Point USA now, what do you think of it now?
It's a difficult question because a lot of people are upset with the direction things are going, but I will tell you this. For criticisms that are valid of TPUSA, there are good people within the organization. Absolutely. I've met them. They love America, they love our country. And one thing I tell people is, look, you don't have to agree with me on everything. On the Israel topic, unless you're truly like an Israel firster and you actually put their interest before America, then there's no reason that me and you need to have anger towards each other and need to be beefing. We can just publicly disagree and amicably disagree. But there are absolutely some patriots in TPUSA, and there are also some subversives, no question about it. I will say there's a line that I think they should be towing of honoring Charlie and preserving his legacy, but not putting words in his mouth because he's not here with us anymore.
Yeah,
Um, when I see and look, this isn't a personal attack on the people who are operating the show, but when I see the Charlie Kirk show continuing and it's not Charlie Kirk, he's gone. Why are we still doing that? That
right, right.
it's using his name in a way I don't think that's respectful. That's my personal opinion. Again, I'm not attacking those guys. I think it's Andrew Colvin. I might
Yeah,
be
yeah,
mistaken, but I'm not comfortable with them using his name. When Rush Limbaugh died, they didn't continue using his name for the show.
right,
It became
right,
a new show.
right.
So, I do think there are some problems and some questionable things going on, but overall, there are a lot of patriots in that organization that love our country.
Okay, okay. But I mean, like, Erica Kirk, I mean, are you supportive of I mean, she's just incredibly weird to me, man. It's weird. It's like, oh my God. I've seen I've seen strangers grieve more than what a supposed wife is grieving. It's like there's so many memes about her. It's like the 5 stages of grief, marketing, world tour,
Yeah.
running for Congress and all that. I mean, that's the stuff that just doesn't add up. And, I don't know if you followed Candace Owens, but man, she's really gone to town on that. And, a lot of things Candace talks about, it's hard to poke a hole in those things. It doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
the entire lack of investigation. I don't know if you saw Joe Kent on Tucker Carlson last week, but it was a great episode. And one of the things he talked about was how, as a government agency, they were just shut down in terms of investigating Charlie. That doesn't make sense. None of that stuff adds up to me. And that's when I start to think, okay, gosh, I did notice Charlie moving away from Judeo-Christian, values and that narrative and really that evangelical Christian mindset that has Israel first. And the reason I think he's or was so important and really is to an extent is, man, he had a big base of young folks like yourself that really followed him. So if he went on to Team Tucker, Team Candace, that really was critical of Israel, I mean, that's millions of kids he took with him. So I don't know, man. It just seems like there's more to that story than Tyler Robinson and his furry transgender girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah, whatever it was. I don't believe the narrative. I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say I know what happened.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not gonna stake my reputation on something I don't have the
Right.
evidence from. I think this trial is going to be a big deal, and I hope that people don't allow whether it's war with Iran or a new big issue or problem that happens. I hope it doesn't get overshadowed because there's a lot of questions that remain unanswered. And so I'm going to reserve total judgment until the trial and some of the facts come out. But I will say, as of right now, I do not believe that official narrative. I've seen people do ballistic testing, on YouTube. You can look them up, and these are. I'm not an expert. I'm not a weapons expert, but these
Right.
are guys who are and are
Yeah.
firearm specialists, and they're saying there's no way. There's no way that his neck wouldn't have been completely blown up by
Just
30-06.
blown off his entire head with that gun. No, I'm with you on that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about so I know you're a conservative. Are you, I don't know your religious, are you a Christian? What do you consider yourself?
I'm a Christian. I actually grew up as an evangelical Protestant. But
Wow.
as of the past 2 years, I would
Yeah.
say I've had a theological realignment, and I guess I can't call myself a Catholic yet because you have to go through OCIA and be confirmed to officially be a Catholic, but I've been attending mass for the past year. My first Ash Wednesday was last month, so I would say I'm theologically, Catholic. That's where I'm
Okay,
at now.
okay. Can you help me understand as somebody that's not religious, when it comes to someone that's theologically Catholic versus your evangelical Protestant upbringing, what's the real difference? Because they both kind of scope up to being a Christian, right? They both scope up to Jesus Christ being the Lord and Savior. But what's the real difference there?
Absolutely. The most important thing is believing in Jesus Christ and following him, but there are very significant differences that are important, and they are distinct for a reason. I would say one of the strongest arguments that persuaded me was the Protestant belief of sola scriptura, scripture alone. Well, the Bible was written by men and compiled by men. How can it be scripture alone if the Bible you're operating off of was decided upon by the church? The church, it was the Catholic Church at the time. Catholic and Orthodox hadn't split yet. It was the Catholic Church that compiled the Bible and decided what was scripture and what wasn't. So how can you separate the two things? How can it be only scripture alone that matters when it was the church and it was the church fathers who decided what scripture was? Of course, it's a Christian belief that the authors of the books of the Bible were inspired by God, by the Holy Spirit while they were writing, while they were authoring the scriptures, but it was men that wrote it, and then it was men who compiled it and decided this is the scripture. I think it's contradictory to say scripture alone when church compiled the Bible. So I don't think those two things can be separated, and therefore church and tradition matter as well. They scripture and tradition go hand in hand. There are other just personal reasons as well for me. I liked the idea of a 2,000-year-old rich tradition. A lot of the Protestant churches now, they only go back a couple hundred years, especially among like the non-denominational churches, which are really it's really a combination of Southern Baptism and Pentecostals. That's really only like 100-year-old tradition, and
Okay.
they go completely off the rails. They don't have tradition and historicity to be based upon. It's really just whatever Pastor Bob says. If Pastor Bob says that my kid can't be baptized, and my kid can't be baptized until they're 7 years old, like there's just a lot of off the cuff, whatever we're feeling. It's lots of emotions I've found in the Protestant churches, especially in the Southern traditions. So I like it. It seems kind of masculine to me. The Catholic Church and also the Orthodox as well, for that matter. But those are some of the personal reasons that I was
Okay.
drawn
Okay.
towards it.
Okay, interesting, interesting. Let's talk about right now, who do you really think is on point right now? Who do you follow? Who do you listen to on a daily basis?
Well, I am a fan of Nick. I am a fan of Nick. I've been a fan of Nick. I always have to say, because you'll get torn to shreds. Look, I think that we are in a place where civil discourse and the First Amendment and free speech are absolutely paramount. People are under attack left and right for beliefs that aren't even radical. Charlie Kirk was not some Nazi, okay?
Right, right.
Charlie Kirk was not a radical by any means. He was a
Now,
very traditional right-wing figure, and they, well, whoever it was took him out. And the reaction to that by the left was he deserved it. He was a Nazi. So when people attack Nick or other figures for he's a Nazi, it's dangerous rhetoric, and anyone who's conservative minded should reject that. So, do I agree with every single thing Nick has said ever? No, I don't. I don't think he probably agrees with every single thing he's ever said. We're human beings. We're allowed to make mistakes and have slip ups, but I think that for the most part, he's on point. Again, don't agree with every single thing he's ever said.
No,
Also,
I feel the same way about him. I think he's highly intelligent. I think he's I mean, it's not just the name. You remind me of him in many ways. The way you're able to kind of articulate your points, honestly, you really do. Maybe it is something in the name.
well,
Although
Nicholas, my real name's Nicholas. Nicholas means victorious, so
okay,
it's
okay.
a powerful name. I think there's something in there.
Yeah,
But
that's
also
true.
Tucker. Tucker's
Okay.
been phenomenal right now. Tucker's really the inspiration for why I became political. I grew up I'd get done with football practice when I was younger in high school, get done with lacrosse practice, and I was going home having dinner watching Tucker every night on his Fox show.
Yeah,
And that Fox show really shaped a lot of my beliefs. That's the greatest show Fox News has ever had by far. They
yeah.
messed up so bad by firing him, and it's been good though. It's been good for the country. Tucker's been absolutely dominating. He's been going harder than ever. He's unafraid and he's not censored by Fox News,
Absolutely,
or Roger
absolutely.
Ailes. So, yeah, Tucker right now, especially in the past couple weeks, with
Yeah,
how
he's
he's been
taken
going
it to
after it.
another level. He's
Mhm.
taken it to it. That the Joe Kent interview was absolutely outstanding. He had that guy on the other day. Have you seen this professor, this Asian professor, Professor Jiang, I think his name is?
I've seen him, but I'm not super familiar with him.
Okay, okay. You know, he's dropped some real predictions that have all come true. That was a great episode. But as far as journalism goes, people are like, who do you listen to, Ray? And I'm like, honestly, I really do listen to Tucker a lot because I think he's doing honest journalism. You know, you don't have to agree with everything he says. You could watch the Joe Kent interview and not agree with some things, although I agreed with practically everything. But it's honest journalism and it's the topics that quite frankly, other people are scared to touch. And he's jumping in there head first, head first. What about Candace Owens? What are your thoughts on her?
I like Candace. I will say people might get mad at me for this. I don't really listen to women talk about politics.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm not it's not like, I'm not trying to be mean by that. I just me personally, I'm kinda just more drawn towards a male figure when they're talking about politics. I feel like I can relate more. I think women would say that too. That's why so many women listen to Candace, right? They like that's just a natural thing, but I do think Candace is smart. I think she's done a great job, and she's very brave. There's no question about that. Candace has, bigger balls than a lot of men out there, so she does a great job for the most part, and, she does also some interesting segments. The, French first lady one, Macron,
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was funny, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but, it's funny, dude. She doesn't care, man. She's ready to
She
go
does
hard.
not, man. She
Um,
digs in. She digs her heels in. You know, I've been very impressed with Megan Kelly recently too. She's really, speaking of Ben Shapiro, man, she's really stood up against him after he's tried to kind of go after her. And I see her kind of I don't know, coming to her own awakenings about things and having the guts to talk about it. Same thing with Pierce Morgan. You know, Pierce Morgan takes a lot of grief, but I will say this, Pierce is willing to talk about everything as well, you know? And you've got to respect that. You've got to respect people that regardless if you agree with them, they're having the conversations. You know, they're having the conversations and man, those audiences are just enormous these days. Those audiences are absolutely enormous. All right, let's talk. Are you were you a Trump guy? Like where were you on Trump? Where are you on Trump? What are your thoughts?
I was a Trump guy, man, and, it's hard to even say, am I a Trump guy anymore? I don't know, dude. It's the 2016 idea of Trump
Yeah, yeah,
that I love, and
yeah,
what he represented back then. Obviously, I was, like, what, 13 in
yeah.
2016, so I wasn't exactly, like, voting or going out in the streets
Yeah,
fighting for him, but, I remember the inauguration in 2016. I think was I in it was 2017, so I was in 8th grade, I think. I was fired up, I was
that's
applauding,
funny.
we watched it at
Yeah.
school, I was happy. 2020, I was just too young to vote. I think I was, like, 2 weeks too young to vote or something. But I was always a Trump guy. I was, especially once I was in high school, I was on my private Instagram story yapping about Trump, trying to
Yeah.
support, getting in, comment section arguments with liberals. But this past year, it's really been this administration. I voted for Trump in 2024 and pretty enthusiastically so. Um, we have seen really in many regards the betrayal of the MAGA base on so many different things. The mass deportations, they've totally backed out. They've backed down. Bovino's been kicked out. He was the guy. He said in a interview yesterday he wanted like 50 million deportations or something. Like, this was, if you're gonna do mass deportations, this is the guy to do it, and they throw him out because he's doing his job. But
Yeah.
and they also carried him out badly. I don't know why you would focus all your heat in Minneapolis right off the bat. It's like
Yeah.
that was like the last place you should go. It's where all the communists are. Of course, they're going to be rioting in the streets.
Right.
Strategically, I don't know why that was the decision to start there. It's almost like they wanted it to fail, to be
Right.
honest with you. And you have that. You have the tariff rollout. Total catastrophe. It's like everything's off the cuff. One day we're going to do this. The next day we're going to do that. If you want companies to make major investments in America, look, you got to come out and say, this is exactly what we're going to do. It's going to be done on this day, and it's going to stay that way forever. If you keep shifting day in, day out, oh, we're going to apply tariffs here or on this country or maybe on that country, people are going to be scared to invest. They're not going to be sure what the economy is going to be like. They're not going to know how the market's going to shift. So that's a total disaster. And I would call myself economically a protectionist. I want to bring industrialization back to America. I want to protect American jobs. So I support that idea. It's like they're destroying these ideas that I support because they're not executing them well. And so in the future, when people are going to campaign on those same things, they're going to be tied back to this administration. They're going to say, well, look, we tried that before and it was a total failure. Well, they're doing these things almost in like the worst way possible. And the
Absolutely.
final debacle is Iran. That's been the biggest betrayal of the MAGA base so far, without question. This is what we campaigned on. Like, that's what they campaigned on. You go and you look back at these bulletins, these pictures, these graphics they were putting out in the 2024 buildup. It's Trump, Vance, pro-peace ticket, right? And they were saying, we're going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. We're
Right.
starting no new wars. The Democrats are the party of foreign invasions and endless wars. What do we do 1 year in? Well, but even less than a year in, they bombed Iran last year, and then what do you get less than 1 year later? Another campaign, and now an actual war in Iran. And Charlie spoke about this many times. That's the red line. The war in Iran is like the number one goal that Israel has had for decades and decades. That's been their number one goal. Oh, even over Iraq, even over Syria, even over
Right.
Libya. Iran was always Israel's number one goal. This is basically like you are Israel's lapdog. If you are the one to take out Iran and start a war with them, you are the goodest goy of all, basically,
Yeah.
And man, it hurts my heart to see that. And I wish that Trump was what he campaigned on. And when you see all of these shills, to anybody who's watching, when you see these shills calling us unpatriotic or disloyal because we're not supporting everything Trump does, Trump is doing the opposite of what he campaigned on. Everything you
absolutely.
voted for, they are doing the opposite. They are betraying you. They are not standing up or fighting for you right now. They should fulfill the promises they made. What do they always say? Promises made, promises kept. Promises made, promises broken. That's what we have right now. So it's time for the base who wanted no new wars, who wanted mass deportations, who wanted a protectionist economic policy to stand up and say, I am not satisfied, and I am not just going to blindly vote for somebody with an R next to their name. You better deliver for me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the question becomes why and like what happened. I mean, I think the shift happened Inauguration Day. You go back and you look at Inauguration Day and the exact globalists that he butted heads with for 4 to 8 years, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, even Elon to an extent, like all of a sudden Elon's on board. But Elon aside, Bezos, Zuckerberg, all these guys, all these big tech guys that were his arch enemy, that really were the ones that he campaigned against, they're all at the inauguration, they're all shaking hands, cheersing. It's like, wait a minute, what the hell just happened? And everything since January 2025 has been the exact opposite. It's almost been what we'd expect if Kamala had won. You know what I mean? It's like, man, so the question becomes, what happened? Was this the biggest psyop ever since 2016? Was it all part of a grand plan, or is he under duress? Is there something going on? And interestingly enough, I mean, I've had this theory for a while, but this is what Joe Kent said on Tucker. He said, listen, we don't know. We don't know if there's pressure being put on him about his kids, his grandkids. You find people's weakness, and I think those are Trump's weaknesses. I think his kids definitely, Ivanka and Barron, maybe not Don Jr. and Eric. Those guys could be disposable, but those, and then his grandkids. Dude loves his grandkids, so who knows? Maybe there's pressure being applied there, but I don't even know who that guy is these days.
Mhm. The point you made about the inauguration is exactly correct. In 2020, Mark Zuckerberg committed $300 million against
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
$300 million. That's more
Against,
than Elon
exactly.
Musk. Elon Musk gave Trump a ton of money in 24. Mark Zuckerberg committed more money against Trump in 2020, and now he's at the inauguration. Jeff Bezos put money against him, was using the Wall Street Journal to attack him at the inauguration. Everyone that the MAGA revolution was fighting against, they all came into the fold in 24. So without question, there was some sort of backdoor deal. There was a handshake deal, and when did that happen? I don't know. Maybe it was after that assassination attempt hit him in the ear. They said,
Yeah.
"Hey, look, buddy, you're gonna have to play ball with us. Otherwise, it might not just be you. It might be your family and your children, your grandchildren as well." You look at John F. Kennedy. Look, that was an inside job. That was an inside
Absolutely.
job. Lee Harvey Oswald didn't
Absolutely.
shoot that man. So the
Yeah.
question is, have we had a legitimate president since JFK?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. I don't think we
no,
have. I don't think
no.
we have.
Maybe
I'll tell
Richard
you.
Nixon, and that's why they axed him, and he was just like, "Look, you know what? I don't want to die. You're gonna take me out anyways. Okay, I'll resign." So
I totally agree with that. Watergate to me was just such a ridiculous way to kind of just take him out of the system. Also Nixon's the guy that brought the petrodollar into existence. And so maybe it was a way to kind of deflect the world from understanding what just happened with the petrodollar and making the dollar the global reserve currency. Maybe they took Nixon off the board there, but yeah, you look at Kennedy, and then besides Nixon, everybody else has just been, I mean, they kissed the wall, and those
playing
guys,
ball,
yeah,
playing
they
ball.
they,
If you
they absolutely played ball. Yeah.
and conservatives love to triumph Reagan. They would say, "Oh, well, Reagan was legit. Reagan was
Yeah.
solid." Reagan signed the National Vaccine Immunity Act. Vaccines are, I believe, the only pharmaceutical product that you cannot sue the manufacturers for if it kills you.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
get pills, if I take a leave, I can sue the manufacturers if it kills me, or my family. They can sue them if it kills me. Vaccines, you can't do that. Ronald Reagan's the one who passed that. Ronald Reagan gave amnesty to millions of illegals in California, and that's what shifted California from red to blue. Ronald Reagan signed no fault divorce into federal law. Ronald Reagan he did a lot of subversive things for our country. So yeah, you look at the past 60 years. I think we've been betrayed. I think we've been infiltrated. And since John F. Kennedy, God bless him, or maybe Richard Nixon, we haven't been legit. And Trump represented a return, of a true American president in 2016. People talk about this. They look back. They think back to 2016. Everybody was against Trump. They were all attacking him. The Republicans were ruthless against him. I mean, you had Marco Rubio out there saying Trump had a small one down down under.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Crazy.
and that's just an off the cuff remark. But all the donors Trump had, it was 60 to 70% of his contributions were from small donors. That totally flipped in 2024. So this revolution that was MAGA, it's been infiltrated, it's been subverted, and now going into the midterm election this year and going into 28, we're not totally repudiating MAGA. That's what the shills online love to say. Y'all, you're just not MAGA. You don't represent that. Well, look, MAGA has failed. Did you win an election? Yes. Did you deliver victories for the American people? No.
No,
No, you have
absolutely.
not. So now we are going to convert the good parts of MAGA into America first, and we're throwing away all the shills, all the Israel firsters, or any other country. If you put any other country before America, we're doing away with you. You're not part of this movement. We're going to fight for this country, and we're not going to apologize or ask for your acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. So you think that group, I mean, there really is a split in what was MAGA. And I do think half of those people are no longer. I mean, are no longer. You've got another half that still are. I mean, you still see a lot of people drinking the Trump Kool-Aid and they just don't see anything. The boomers for sure, a lot of Gen X. But I think your generation, I don't think he has much support at all, if any, in
Mhm.
the Gen Z crowd.
Yeah, if you look at Gen Z, what you will find is a lot of conservatives, they don't understand what time it is and what's actually happening among the youth. Because the establishment class, they come into contact with politically active young people. Those are the kinds of young people that they're coming into contact with. They're not going to like frat dudes at Old Miss and finding out how they're thinking, or young men who are working in a trade school somewhere,
Right,
right? Or
right, right.
going to trade school. They are interacting with the children of donors or people who want to get a job in the establishment, whether it's the Republican Party or affiliated organizations. So what are you going to get when you talk to those kinds of people? Well, you're going to get people who tell you what you want to hear. And
Right.
they know that these boomers and these older Gen Xers, they're totally 100% on the Trump train. They won't dissent because they don't want to be on the bad side of the Republican Party. So they are getting this false sense of security amongst the youth because they're talking to this establishment class of Gen Z that wants a job. And so, yeah, we love Trump. We will never criticize Trump. If you go and you talk to conservative minded young people that just, they want to go get a sales job when they graduate from college or working in finance or whatever the role is, they're not happy. They are mad. Honestly, a lot of them are just becoming apathetic towards politics and they want to give it up altogether because they
Yeah.
see Trump, who represented what they believed, selling out, and now they just think, well, it's just not worth it. Politics, it's a waste of time, and we're never going to win. And we should just black pill and give up and just try to make some money while we can. That's how a lot of young people are starting to feel. Like they look at me a lot. I talk to people. They're like, "Hey, man, good for you, but politics just isn't for me, man. I can't do
Interesting.
it. It seems like it's everyone's a shill. Everyone's going to sell us out. Our
Yeah.
country's controlled by Israel or by the donor class, by billionaires. It's just not worth it. They're losing the youth. And a lot of these polls, you look at, they're like, Trump has 100% support amongst MAGA youth. It's a fake poll, dude. This is
Yeah. Yeah.
propaganda
Yeah.
from the administration. First
Yeah.
of all, they're making these fake polls and giving them to Trump, so Trump has this false sense of security. That's one reason they're doing it, but also just to display strength that's not there, so they can beat their chests and act like they're doing something good. That's not what is happening. And a lot of my friends have voted for Trump in 24. The majority of them are pissed, and they think Trump is controlled by Israel.
Yeah, yeah. So your network of friends and in even at your school, I mean, is it highly political, or you're saying a lot of kids are just saying, "You know what, man, there's no winning with this. I'm not even gonna think about it."
Most guys and most girls for that matter, they're not politically active. They have
Okay.
beliefs though. They're not stupid. You watch
Yeah.
these Fox News interviews that they do on the beach. It's like a bunch of kids who like are 6 beers deep, and
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
are trying to
Yeah.
tan
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
They're trying to portray like everyone's stupid and we have no idea what's going on.
Right.
Actually, a lot of people, they are paying attention to politics. They just feel apathetic and black pilled. Like if even if they tried to do something, nothing would be accomplished, and they would just get their lives destroyed and see no gain from it. Um, I do come into contact with the politically active because I'm part of the TPUSA chapter at my school. So amongst those people, You know, a lot of them. I love everybody in my chapter. They're great people, but a lot of them they're some of those kids trying to get jobs in the administration. But they are intelligent. I would say those people are more Trumpy, supportive of the current administration than the average conservative is, who's not part of a political organization.
Okay, I gotcha. So have you caught any grief from the TPUSA chapter at your school or in general, just for kind of the way you went at Ben Shapiro at that event, and even some of this thought process that you have right now? Because I find TPUSA is very aligned with the Trump train, and it's very aligned with a very pro-Israeli movement. I mean, Erica Kirk herself, for sure, she talks about it in most interviews. Do you get any pushback for even a line of questioning like you just did?
Well, without question, the higher ups in TPUSA probably don't love me.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's
That's
just a
fair.
given. I haven't interacted with them personally, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. I have interacted with some people that are working for TPUSA, but not executives or anything. They disagree with me on that specific issue and maybe on how we should go about our support for Trump right now. My belief: hold them accountable, do not support when they're betraying us. But also, the other thing is that I agree with so many of the values and principles that they hold. I'm pro life. I'm a Christian, an imperfect one, but I'm a Christian. I'm pro Second Amendment. I love free speech. I think it's the bedrock of our society. And without the Constitution, our country's going to fall apart as of right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's so many things that we agree upon that it is a little frustrating that some of the higher ups and maybe other people in the organization would feel anger towards me or not want me to be a part of the organization. But as far as it goes amongst the youth, people in my chapter and other schools, look, if they disagree with me, then we just have a civil dialogue about it. We just go
Absolutely.
back and forth and we can have a debate. I was talking with one of our guys the other day, and we were having a debate about the death penalty, right? I might personally think in certain extreme cases that it's valid. He was saying, no, I don't think we should ever do it. That's just one example of, look, we can have disagreements. You shouldn't want to throw me out of the organization because I don't support the nation state of Israel. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's no reason to be vitriolic towards me because of that belief. So I would say it's probably a little worse for me with the executives and the higher ups, but with the rank and file, they're good people. A lot of them agree with me, and then a lot of them we just have civil dialogue and debate.
Okay, that's fair. And listen, I really respect you for standing your ground in that, because, like you said earlier, it's probably a lot easier to agree in order to get that job and get even advancement within the organization or any organization. But when you stand your ground, that's very principle based. So keep doing that for sure. Plus, they don't want to lose you. They already lost Nick Fuentes years ago, so I don't think they want to screw up by losing another Nick. Okay, what else did I want to ask you? What do you think's going to happen with the Iran stuff? I mean, what do you see? How do you see that even playing out?
It's hard to make predictions because
Yeah.
it's always a double-edged sword, right? If I get it right, it's amazing. If I get it wrong, it's embarrassing. I think that it's going to be a stain upon the Trump administration for
Yeah.
decades to come. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a stain on the Republican Party. I think in the future, in 26, in the midterms, in 28, and even beyond, this is going to be something that the Democrats campaign on, and it's going to absolutely be a winning issue for them. The Republicans are fooling themselves. They are fooling themselves if they think they're going to win any points with the voters, whether of any age, really. Even the boomers. I mean, come on, man. Even independent boomers they don't support the Iran war.
No, totally.
Um,
You're right. They don't. They don't.
no, no. These are 60s hippies. That's what the independent boomers are now. Certainly Democrat boomers as well. But the independent boomers who they want to win their vote, their critical voting bloc, they are the 60s nonviolence, anti-Vietnam War protesters that have grown up now. And they're not going to support the Iran war. So the Democrats it's going to be a winning issue for them. The Democrats are going to destroy the Republicans in the midterms without question. They might even win the Senate. The House, absolutely, it's going Democratic. The Senate, we'll see, but there's a very good chance that they win the Senate too. And if they win the Senate, Trump is a very good likely. Trump could get convicted, kicked out of
Yeah.
office,
Yeah.
because you only need a handful to hit the 60 mark threshold. You only need a handful of Republicans defecting to the other side and voting to take Trump out, which very much could happen, maybe, maybe not. But the Democrats are going to win the House in 26 for the Iran war and many other things. They're going to impeach Trump, and the administration is going to be over. It's going to be done with. There's
Yeah.
nothing's going to be achieved for the next 2 years. Every headline is going to be Kristi Noem corruption, Pete Hegseth war crimes, Donald Trump
Right.
illegitimate actions in Iran. And it's going to become a stain on the Republican Party and upon conservatives who are running in the future. And it's unfortunate, man, because I want to see America first victories. You're not going to get that from Democrats. I'm sorry. There no Democrats going to stand up and actually put the American people first. They're just as bought and sold as the bad Republicans are. There's really no difference between those two.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Exactly. The bad Republicans being the key. I mean, I don't know how anybody joins Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz's pickleball team, let alone wanna be on any side of any argument that those guys are on. That's just insane to me. But you know what? Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries are the same thing. Those people are no different, and they're all getting paid by the same entity. I don't even know who's gonna run in 28. Like, I initially thought it's definitely JD Vance and whoever they put on his ticket, but he doesn't seem to have any real support these days. And it's like he's kind of nowhere. I don't even see or hear much about Vance anymore. On the Democrat side, I mean, the only guy I always think it's going to be Gavin Newsom, but I don't know. Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? I mean, any thoughts on who you even see running?
well, Gavin Newsom came out very strong a couple weeks ago, calling Israel an apartheid state, and he was against this war. And then he backed down a few days ago and said, "Oh, I'm taking all that back. I didn't mean that. I'm just talking about Bibi."
Yeah.
If he had stood his ground on that, that would have been extremely popular with the Democratic primary. But it just goes to show you again, even both sides, they're slaves to Israel. They're slaves to AIPAC. They're slaves to their donors. Even a Democrat, which it probably has a 90% anti-Israel sentiments. That's probably like 90% of the Democratic Party, among their base. That even something that's incredibly popular like that, even Gavin Newsom is going to back down on. So he's going to run, but I very much could see somebody standing up on the Democratic side, being fully against Israel,
Yeah.
and they win. So that's
Yeah.
going to be a big issue for the Democrats. On the Republican side, it is true that JD Vance still has the majority of, if you look at any poll, even though some people might say the polls are propaganda, it is true. It is true. If you talk even amongst young people, anyone who would actually show up like in a primary voting,
Yeah.
JD Vance is their top choice, but that is not secure at all. And when you mentioned earlier, where is JD Vance? We haven't seen him forever. That is strategic. They're doing that on purpose right now. It
Interesting.
started when the Iran conflict started. They want to separate JD and his advisors, his donors, his backers. They're telling him and they're having him stand off in the sidelines. Don't be in the spotlight. When the time comes, you're going to come out at the end of this administration and say, "Hey, I didn't support this war at all. Actually, I told Trump not to do it, and that wasn't my fault." This is all strategic. If you go back and look at when the day at the RNC convention in 2024, JD Vance was nominated to be the VP on the ticket, sitting there with Sean Hannity and says, "We've got to take action against Iran. We got to go in there. We can't be weak like these other administrations have been. And we got to bomb them hard, bomb them fast, and destroy that regime and get out of there." JD Vance supports this. All of his donors, all of his advisors, this is what they've always wanted. They just need him for their own interests to win in 28 or 32. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
They want him to win because he's going to get in there, he's going to support Palantir, and he's going to pass the legislation that they want and make executive orders to benefit all of his buddies. That's what's going to happen in 28, and that's why Vance is sitting in the wings. It's smart. It's smart, but I don't think it's going to work. I think that interview with Hannity and all of his past comments on Iran, they're going to come back to bite him. They're going to be sound bites used against him, and if there is somebody on the Republican side who has the balls and who has the strength, and you probably, at this point, you got to have your own self funding. You're going to have your own money and your own capital. If they will stand up and say, "We do not support Israel. Israel is not going to control me. They're not going to control our politics. I reject AIPAC. I won't take a dime from them."
Yeah.
That person it's going to be JD versus them. That's what it's going to come down to. I don't think Marco Rubio is not going to win. I
No,
don't think he
I
has the
don't think
steam. He doesn't have the charisma, and anyone who would support Marco would choose JD Vance over Marco anyway. So it's
Yeah.
going to be JD Vance versus whoever goes up and has the strength and the integrity to be against Israel and not sold out in America first. It's going to be a race against those two people, and whoever's America first, I'll full steam ahead. I got you, brother.
Yeah, yeah. You like Thomas Massey? Is that somebody maybe you could get behind?
If it's Massey versus JD, then 100%. But I will say I'm not. He's more libertarian than I am, so I've
Okay.
got some political disagreements with him. But
Okay.
when it comes down to it, the most important thing is somebody's America first. They're not bought and paid for, and they're not going to be controlled by foreign countries like Israel. So if it comes down to Massey and JD, I'd be going Massey for sure.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. What else, man? What else? Anything else you wanna any hot buttons you wanna talk about?
Ray, how are you been, man? What's going on? What's new
I've
with
been good,
you?
dude. I've been good. I'm just trying to make sense of all of it. You know what I mean? And for me, I always feel like the story you get on the front page, that's just not even remotely the truth. And so for me right now, like in particular with Trump, I'll tell you, I don't know. Was this all a big psyop from 2016? Or I do think there is the possibility he's under duress because he's just different to me. He looks different. He doesn't have that confidence that I thought he always had. He walks different. He doesn't look healthy. You know, I see the things where he's got weird things on his hands that almost look like burn marks or something. I mean, if you play things out and you believe in there being a bigger power that runs this world, now who the hell knows who really is that? It's like I don't know. I don't know if he has a chance to do the things that maybe he did intend to do, you know? But it's completely different. I mean, the guy is completely different. So that stuff makes me I don't want to say lose hope because it doesn't, but it makes me realize that it is a much different chess game than most people can remotely understand. And even you and I, who I think are in a level of nuance with this stuff, there's probably a level we don't even remotely understand. And there's deals that are being made for 10, 15, 20 years from now and that's what's getting set up. So I don't know, man. I think about this new world order concept, this one world government stuff, and I never really thought that could be possible because in my mind, I'm like, where do the Chinese fit into that? Where do the Russians fit into that? Where does North Korea fit into that? It's like everybody would want to be the big boss. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I do think something's coming on global energy. I think global energy is going to turn into a crisis and a crisis to where it's going to be so expensive to travel to do anything. It's almost like self-imposed lockdowns are coming a la COVID. I mean, think about what COVID did. I mean, it upended our lives. I mean, it completely upended everybody's life. I think there's an upending of everybody's life that's going to happen again. And the only thing I can think of is a global energy crisis almost causing that to be self-imposed. But I don't know, man. Sometimes I envy my buddies who don't give a shit about any of this stuff. And they're just like,
Ignorance is bliss, man.
yeah, ignorance is bliss, man. Ignorance is bliss. But listen, I give you so much credit for everything you're doing. I'm a big fan. I'm going to try and get you on a bunch of other podcasts. And like, I'd love to see you have a conversation with Nick. Do you know Nick Fuentes? Like, do you run in those circles at all?
He knows who I am.
Okay.
But I've never met him personally, but I know that he knows who I am.
That's awesome. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that conversation. I'd like to see you talk with him. We'll have to
Anytime, any day, man. You name the place, I'll be there.
There's a guy. Do you know Royce White?
I do know Royce White, and I like him a lot.
Okay, I will set you up with Royce because I am friends with him and I've had him on the podcast twice. I'd love
He's
to.
real, dude. He's really smart. If you
He's
listen to
smart.
him, yeah, he could probably run circles around me. He's a great guy.
He's Morpheus level smart. I will say, my man, and he might be listening to this. I think he drinks a little bit of the Trump Kool-Aid too much.
Hey,
But
let's hope,
anyway,
bro. He's smoking on hopium, and you know what?
yeah,
Maybe I need some of that right now,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
getting too black pilled over here.
I know. I think
Yeah.
we all need hopium. All right, listen. Tell everybody where they can find you. What are your main platforms that you're building followings on?
Absolutely. Biggest platform is X right now. It's Nicky Rudd X. That's the handle. Sometimes they'll shadow ban me a little bit. You got to type out the whole thing, but we're about at 40K there. So we're growing it. We're
Fantastic.
doing something. Next biggest would be Instagram, and that would just be Nicky Rudd. If you look up Nicky Rudd, you'll be able to find that. And my name is spelled Nicky, okay? Not the stripper way. I promise,
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
You'll not
Okay.
see me
Yeah.
on the pole.
Yep. Yep.
But Nicky Rudd there. I'm also on TikTok. TikTok is still growing. It's a little small right now, but we're gonna get some motion soon.
Have you
And
noticed a difference in TikTok with the acquisition? Like do you feel like you're getting shadow banned more and the algorithm is working against you?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've got about 11K on Instagram, and I've had a video do 1 million views. I've had videos
Yeah.
do almost 1 million views, 500,000 views. I've probably got 5 or 6 big videos on Instagram or on TikTok. I've had one.
Yeah.
And it didn't give me any followers. Every video I put out, I'll get followers from it on Instagram, TikTok. Almost nothing. They haven't like banned me or deleted it in
Right.
my
Right.
videos yet, but there's definitely a difference in the algorithm now, without question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll put all your handles in the description. All right, listen, keep being you, and we'll have you back on the Deep Shallow Dive. All right, everybody, keep an eye out for this kid, man. I think I know there's huge things in your future. And again, I really give you credit for being able to articulate the things you think through so well. You really can. So, all right.
Means a lot to me, Ray. Thank you so much, brother.
My pleasure, man. Nicky Rudd, everybody. All right, everybody. Call a spade a spade. We'll talk to you soon. Nicky, hang on the line a second.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.